The New Orleans Pelicans go on a win streak. They're victorious against the Atlanta Hawks, 116-107. I'm Chetty Chaz. That's Chris Conner. Let's talk about it.
First took away. Yes, but this catch your money's worth out.
Are you ready for the biggest Sunday in sports? DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the Super Bowl 57, has all the Super Bowl action you need. New customers can bet just $5 to get 200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, all customers can get in on Super Bowl 57 excitement with DraftKings Happy Hour. Sorry, that read went away. What's going on here? With DraftKings Happy Hour Super Boost, check the DraftKings Sportsbook app every day between 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern to see what prop bet will be boosted. I'm looking forward to Patrick Mahomes. He's getting another chip. Big Andy Reid fan. I hope they pull it off. And, respect the CD Deuce, but it's going to hurt even more if he get a ring this year. It's going to hurt. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code BOOT, B-O-O-T. New customers can bet just $5 on Super Bowl 57 to get 200 in bonus bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code BOOT. Yo, Chris, Pelicans, what's this, 3 games? 3-game win streak. Feels good to be back on the winning side of things. How do you feel, and what did you take away from tonight, especially around this time when, draft's right there? So it's on guys' minds, and they still came out with good energy to pull off the victory. What do you think?
My biggest takeaway is, this team is either going to go on an amazing run in the playoffs or they're going to get swept in the first round. Like, it's clear that there's just like no in between. Like the highs and the lows, injuries, so on and so forth. It's like, you went on a 10-game losing streak. Now, they didn't won 3 in a row and they just looked like a completely different team. Like, all they needed to see was one win. And everything from how they're playing together, some of the ball movement, some of the actions and the way that guys were screening for each other, and then the execution offensively, the game plan, deciding to let other people beat you, allowing DeJounte Murray, even though he's improved as a shooter, to go along with John Collins to shoot as many threes as they want throughout the game. Just everything. The guys seem in sync. They played, I think, really good defense in the possessions they needed to. Brandon was terrific. They did a lot of the little things, and you see it in most of this 3-game winning streak.
I really like what I saw from Trey, man. Really like what I saw from Trey as far as, again, I don't care if the shot goes in or not. Just take those shots. He hit several big contested jumpers tonight. Had one play where he missed two threes, got the offensive rebound for a difficult putback finish. Great play. Herb, excellent game all around, I would say. Started off a little rough, but he really found his groove. Defensively, he was incredible all night. What do you say about those guys' performance? Because they've been pretty up and down, recently.
So, I'll start with Herb. Herb was phenomenal. Another game in which he just, he only took 1 3 tonight. And look, I think he'll have, during a losing streak, he had a couple games where he knocked down 2 threes and so on and so forth. And eventually he'll have another night where the shot is falling. But he's, once again, we know what he can do defensively. And some nights it'll look like tonight where Trae Young has one of his worst nights of the year. And he'll finish the game with 3 steals. And other nights it may not look the same. He'll find other ways to impact. But what I like is that he rebounded the basketball. He got you a lot of those 50-50 plays. He made the right read for the most part with the ball in his hands, driving, kicking out. And that's what you really want to see from Herb. You don't have to be a knockdown shooter with this team. Atlanta was closing out. Shout out to Maples. I was in the chat. Maples was like, he was closing out on Herb like a splash brother. What are we doing? Why are y'all testing Herb in the corner? Y'all ain't looking at y'all think he can shoot the basketball right now?
Yo, I ain't gonna lie. Atlanta should tell you that things can change quickly, bro.
They're bad.
They really bad, team. Bro. They really bad, bro. Like it's saddening. It's like saddening.
How bad team.
They bad.
But look though, all that talent, right?
Tons of talent. That goes to show you. And you got a good coach. Nate has a history of being a solid coach, old school coach. I thought JV had a really good game tonight, all things considered. I thought JV was the dog on the boards late in the fourth. I actually would have liked to see JV out there later in the fourth so he could play a little, a little bully ball, get to the free throw line, knock him down. But they still managed to pull off the victory despite not having JV. Well, and they fought off a tough Atlanta comeback because the game got choppy toward the end. Game got real choppy toward the end. So what did you see from JV tonight coming back off injury?
Very, very decisive for the most part. And I like the way that they used him, they kept him. Another situation. He didn't take 1 3 tonight. He found ways, whether it was diving on a drop, catching a pass, making overpass to the corner, fake. Like he was decisive from the opening possession. He finished well around the basket tonight, made the most of those. And that, it helps that he had a chance to shoot the ball 10 times. But I think more than anything, Chaz, we've been talking about it a lot, is that against teams like this that have traditional bigs, they aren't floor spacers, that are closer to 7-footers or 6'11". I don't know how tall Clint Capella is at the top of my head. I believe he's 7 feet.
Yeah,
is
6'11", 7
can you dominate your matchup? And I think he played well against. He got the best of Clint Capella and whoever was out there for Atlanta. It helps that even when they went small, John Collins doesn't really space the floor. The other guy, Owangu, isn't a dude that's going to space the floor and shoot threes either. But no matter what big was on the floor for Atlanta, JV was the best center, I think, on the floor at all times. And that's really all you can ask for. I think he had a phenomenal game. And as always, or as you want to see in this limited role, sometimes he made the most of his time.
I'm actually, man, I thought Brandon made so many. What up, Ross? I thought Brandon made so many good passes in the first half, especially. I thought, Brandon's getting 10 plus assists tonight. I'm not sure how many he ended the night with, but 8. I think 8. He deserved to have 10 tonight because he made some incredible passes. And man, Atlanta terrible, but he made some incredible passes, especially in that first half. He made the same pass at least 5 times to the left corner. I'm like, no one's gonna stop doing this. But Ross, what are your takeaways from tonight's game?
Yeah, I was in the building tonight, and it just is really apparent when you're there and we're close to full strength how much more confidence the role players play with. It's a joy watching Jose be able to come in and do the things he's good at. Hey, we don't really need you to run the offense. Don't really the expectation is to come in and be a spark plug. Come do that. And it made a difference tonight. Same thing with even the starters. I mean, Herb and Trey are starting, but they're still role players. And when you have CJ and you have BI there, and obviously when you have Zion there, it just there's a weight off of those guys, and it frees them up to do the things simplify the game, make it easy for yourself. I thought the role players played really well tonight. Obviously, Brandon just abused DeAndre Hunter all night. Ooh. I mean, he did whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted, however he wanted, facilitated, got to the mid-range, pulled up over the top, whatever he wanted. It was looked up at one point, maybe late in the third quarter, and knew he was having a pretty good game, and he was sitting there with 26 or 27 or something, and it was just a quiet, easy, a very, very easy night for him. So I thought they played well. It was nice to see us start to get into a little bit of a rhythm.
This is I gotta ask this: should Atlanta had kept Cam over DeAndre Hunter? Because I never understood why they like DeAndre Hunter so much. I just didn't get it, bro. I thought I didn't even like that pick. I thought not to say Cam is anywhere lighting it up because he can't even get on the floor right now. But that's more politics, But DeAndre Hunter just looks so bad.
Kawhi Leonard.
It's everybody who has some defense and no offense, or little offense, is compared to Kawhi now, and it's just damn. What you got, Ross?
He had played pretty well the last couple of weeks. I mean, for me, he's one of those guys that it's every time I watch, I don't see the defense everybody talks about, and I don't just mean tonight. I mean, because to a certain extent, Brandon, when he's got it going, can do that to anybody. It just feels like whenever I've watched him consistently, it's like, you know, maybe he has these games and I just don't watch Atlanta enough, but it's like what we said a little bit about Herb. Like when Herb is confident and has it going, like somebody's in for a long night. Okay, when he plays well defensively, obviously Kawhi, the really good guys, the Marcus Smarts, Michael Bridges, we've seen do it. I've just never seen that level of problematic defense out of him whenever I've watched. It just seems kind of just like a solid run of the mill, like, replaceable wing to me, not somebody you're building a franchise around.
Yeah, and he is guarding, Brandon Ingram. Like, Brandon, we've seen Brandon Ingram do it to a guy like Mikal Bridges, and to be fair, to DeAndre Hunter's credit. What do you guys see from John Collins tonight? John Collins been involved in a lot of rumors surrounding the Pelicans. Apparently in the post game, he stopped and spoke to every player on the Pelicans roster. How do y'all feel about John Collins after tonight?
Look, I'll let Chris go, but I just want to echo that. After the game, my man was giving hugs to the Pelicans team like he was already on the roster.
Yo, I didn't even see that. Yo, wow.
I mean,
maybe he got friends in Atlanta. I mean, in New Orleans. Maybe he got friends.
I told y'all a few weeks ago. Whenever it was, he wants to be in New Orleans, man. I don't. It's not a coincidence that him and Brandon share the same agent, and it's been some chatter there about it just being about the price for him,
right?
But neither here nor there. Which I will say that's comforting for me that even a guy like John Collins, okay, would welcome being in New Orleans. Just that, I mean, that to me, that's a step forward. Okay, you've seen CJ. You can debate at first if he wanted to be in New Orleans. I heard some different things, so on and so forth. Brandon recommitted. Zion, anybody would have recommitted after the way last year ended, so on and so forth. But I still like to see. I've had too many tough battles with even into the bits guys saying no to being in New Orleans. So that's neither here nor there. But look, man, I think John, and even similar to DeAndre Hunter, they're a victim of circumstance. They're a victim of having two high usage guards that are gonna get a majority of the shots. And while Trae Young is someone who can distribute and will end the game with a lot of assists, a lot of those assists are either passes off to the corner or their lobs or their passes to say a big man. That's how plays are kind of orchestrated. But if you're a guy like Hunter, you're a guy like Collins, you got to go into business for yourself at some point, which is why at one point in the game, we see back-to-back terrible mid-range jump shot attempts by DeAndre Hunter, which should not be in the game plan. And I guarantee you was not drawn up. He just had to get them, because when else was he going to be able to shoot them? I think maybe on a different team in a more, ball movement centric setup, maybe those guys might look a little different. I'm still above the mind. Well, I'm a part of the mindset of if you can get John Collins for the right deal, even if it's a second round pick, a couple second round picks, if Atlanta's giving him away, I'll definitely take him if you can figure out how to not, what are the right moves going forward to not be in the tax, because he's not, I don't think he's that guy. You have to figure out some of the salary aspects, which probably mean JV will be on his way out soon or someone else. But I mean, okay game.
I don't. Oh, go ahead, Ross. My bad.
No, I was just gonna say I really he's just, I don't know that he's a huge difference maker. Like for us, to me, to be honest, he's a little bit in a weird spot in the NBA, because, in my opinion, he's too small to play center. I mean he's too small to play center on a nightly basis. Period. But he's not offensively, like, a lot of power forwards now. I mean, look at who we play at power forward, either Trey Murphy or Zion Williamson. Two very different guys, both very, very, high level skills in terms of Trey being able to shoot, Zion being able to do whatever he wants. Like, I don't know where John Collins fits a little bit. To me, watching tonight, he's actually got a lot of similarities to Larry Nance. I thought his motor ran pretty good tonight. he kind of connected things at times for Atlanta. He communicates very well defensively, a lot better than I thought. I just don't know. Like, it's like we said a few nights ago. Like, if we're in the fourth quarter, let's just say you put John Collins was on this roster today. Just he's on the roster today. I could see a scenario where we say, well, he's not out there in the fourth quarter, like ever, because I don't know defensively that he's better than Larry Nance. And if we're trying to get a bucket, I think we have rosters that are better without him. I don't know about him. I don't know that. I mean, to Chris's point, if they're giving him away, find a way to make it work, okay? Because he is a talented guy, and I think outside of Atlanta, he may look a little different. If you're starting to talk about giving up first round picks or players we like, I'm pushing the brake pedal a little bit on that.
I would say the only thing when I look at a guy like John Collins and his usage, for one, never can really discount that he's extreme. He's been unhappy in Atlanta for a while, especially with his role. And I can't worry about it too much because your top two guys are going to miss a lot of games. And also as far as Larry, Larry's going to get hurt again. Larry's banged up a lot. John, he did have a really incredible playoff run. It's not even a player with me. I just wonder, the only way I can see you getting a guy like John Collins would be this rationale. Well, we got $25 million tied up into two guys we don't really want next year. So what's $25 million for a cheap guy? My only thing is, well, those guys are expiring, so at least you could move them if you needed to. With John Collins, I don't really know, but I mean, who knows? He might come here and repair his value, have another incredible playoff run, and he might look like a guy. You never know.
Because make no mistake, Atlanta been trying to move John Collins for 2 years.
Yeah,
they've been trying to
even before they paid him.
Even before they paid him, they were trying to move John Collins. So it's not that easy to just move guys that once they get into that 20-25 million range, those contracts get a little more difficult when they have extra years attached to them.
Yeah.
And look, I think that there are better fitting options that the Pelicans should pursue. I think that, shooting or another guy that can create for himself or others in some regards would probably be the move that I would make before John Collins. But if you can make the move, and that they've been having trouble getting rid of him because like Ross says, they've been for a while and it just hasn't materialized. All that talk about first round picks, them 1 and 2 first round picks, all that was fake and wasn't real. They knew that was them trying to negotiate through the media, leaking some stuff. They know what they weren't. They knew the struggle that they were going to have. But, and I do wonder what kind of role would he have in New Orleans? Because if he was unhappy with the shots he was getting in Atlanta, I can't. It's not going to change consistently night to night in New Orleans. What does that say for a guy like Larry? What happens when Zion comes back? Zion and John Collins together might be able to get you some solid minutes. That might be nice. That might be fun.
I ain't gonna lie. That's a crazy 4-5 pick roll.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
I worry about the creativity and how you would use him for what you currently have with the staff offensively to wonder, like, how long is John Collins going to be happy if you're not, taking him any further than he went in Atlanta? You know what I'm saying? Or does he just accept his fate in this league right now as, what is it? Is it a first, second guy off the bench? Is it a fourth option? I don't even know some nights if it'll be that. I just think that talent is worth it if you backfire or you fail on some other options, and you can make the money work to where you're not hurting yourself long term. And maybe if you've already decided that Jonas isn't going to be in your plans for much longer, I don't think John Collins is a something that puts you over the top necessarily. But from a trade value perspective, and if you can get him, I'd be interested in it. Talent and hopefully buy-in alone.
Yeah,
that's fair. Hey, that's fair. Sorry, Chad.
No, you're good.
Because you can watch it and see that, like, Trae Young is probably like I can see how he's a frustrating player to play with. And I knew that it's the first time I've seen him play live. It's the first time I've seen him play live, and you can. I mean, there are countless times tonight. I feel like countless times tonight where you can see guys just like annoyed with him. I don't think he's a winning player, and so you're making a good point, right? Like he could just look a lot, like he could look a lot different outside of that atmosphere. And I'll just kind of leave it at that because I could spend probably 45 minutes telling you about Trae Young, but
yeah, we talked about Trae Young on the playback a little bit. Trae's interesting. I think Trae's a hell of a talent, but man, sometimes the situations don't work out. But so tonight, I want to ask you guys this: what do you guys think about Coach Green's fourth quarter?
Ross?
Elaborate. Is there like what do you specifically?
Atlanta goes on a run. You don't really get the timeout. Fast forward to closer to the end of the game, you don't really get a CJ sub. I'm sorry, you don't really get a JV sub in when you're in the bonus. Ball's inbounded to CJ. They send a double. Well, they're gonna send a double because they're pressing. They're in the backcourt anyway. Mm-hmm. So they send a double. CJ dribbles.
Yeah.
Calls timeout.
Calls timeout. Yeah. So now you got an inbound from the backcourt, because he dribbled. But like, what do you guys just think about like this Coach Green's this fourth quarter in particular?
I mean, I think it's nitpicking a little bit. I didn't notice being there anything that was too glaring, other than that one scenario where Trae hits the deep three that I think at the time put it to 6. And then we inbound. It was like that little sequence there. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you're talking about maybe like 45 seconds of gameplay where I think we might have had a turnover and they get a couple quick buckets. And other than that, I don't recall sitting there thinking like, wow, he's really pissing this game away. I mean, it just felt like they went on a little mini run. That's going to happen, especially with a team like that that's going to shoot a lot of three-pointers. Like some of those are just going to go in. Bogdanovich was like unconscious for a few minutes there. I mean, he had some shots with hands in his face.
Everybody's in love with Bogdanovich right now.
Yeah, I don't really have a critique, to be honest with you, Chaz, of Willie Green on this one. I mean, maybe there was a timeout that should have been called. Maybe he could have pulled JV a minute earlier or something. But I never. I'll just say it like this: I never being there. I never felt like, oh, we're letting this get away from us. I didn't have that feeling.
Chris, what are your thoughts on Coach Green's fourth?
Perspective, man. I mean, for me, because I can look at it on the couch and say my biggest gripe with Willie, more than anything else, if I had to say a negative, is management of timeouts. Okay, now my opinion may be even the run that Atlanta made in the third run when the Pelicans got sloppy, right? Because that wasn't Willie's fault at that point. But if I was the coach, I'd probably step in and call a timeout there, right? Versus letting it get down. You turn like just things get sloppy, miss a couple shots, Atlanta starts chipping away, similar to the fourth quarter. Maybe a couple timeouts could have been called there. But I think that at the same time, I will give him credit for, and we're talking in the fourth quarter. I think that he stuck to the game plan. A lot of sets that they ran earlier in the game that worked. Even when things got sloppy, he went back to them. There was a play in the fourth where CJ just had, I think, back-to-back drives or back-to-back plays where he kind of, took some tough shots after. I think this was after the double pump 3 that he took. Right. And then the next play is immediately called for Brandon. AD's calling for it on the broadcast, call for it, a positive play ends up happening. So, I'd say, a B, the guys never looked like that they lost confidence or they got too frustrated. They kind of felt like they were still going to win the game no matter what the Hawks did. If anything, I'm gonna give him a negative grade for, if I gotta pick, it's the timeouts. And I would have used a lot of different timeouts throughout the game to kind of just to make sure. Willie has a lot of just a lot of trust in his players, and maybe sometimes too much.
Oh, final question for you guys. Is John Collins the Pelicans tomorrow? Is John Collins or Bogdanovich, are they Pelicans tomorrow? Or look, JV's there, Devontae Graham's here. They can both easily get on the plane, swap, say, hey, keep whatever's in my house. You keep whatever's in my house. They probably don't wear the same size, but JV got a lot of nice suits. Or either one of those guys, Pelicans tomorrow.
Ross?
No. Because again, it's about price, right? I mean, I think Atlanta would be doing themselves a disservice, like moving them for some kind of Jackson Hayes, Devontae Graham package right now, unless there have to be picks or something associated with that. I still am of the belief they're not just going to give them away. Like, I don't know what purpose that serves unless maybe there's something going on. Maybe just like the locker room is so cancerous that it's an addition by subtraction situation. I don't think they're just going to give him away, and the way we've played the last few nights is going to make it really difficult. Like if they're even considering any of the like role players that we've been talking about that just had a kind of a bad month that have now played really well these last 3 home games, that BI's been back, it's going to be like those conversations just look different today than they did 2 weeks ago. That's just the nature of the nature of this beast. As your stars come back, these guys start to play better. So I don't know. The answer to your question for me is no.
Chris?
I would hope Bogdanovich just finds a way to be a Pelican. Either of them. I mean, if they have a younger brother or a nephew, another Bogdanovich that's around, I take him. Any Bogdanovich, I'm fine with him being in a Pelicans uniform right now. John Collins, I think something would have to go drastically wrong in some of their other pursuits for that to happen, to be honest.
Atlanta's or the Pelicans?
In the Pelicans' pursuits for upgrade, I think something would have to go wrong, or Atlanta would just have to completely panic and just say, all right, we're done with this. We're gonna dump him, which I think they should, to be honest. If we're being real, I think they should. If that call is made, I can definitely see it. I just have questions on how it fits with Jonas and Larry Nance. If John could shoot,
I think we have to presume Jonas is out here, right? Is out of there.
I don't know. I would assume, but then at that point, is John Collins your starting center?
I think
you have to be, right?
I think you would have to start John for some time, and probably have to get a traditional guy off the street, because you will have created a roster.
I think that's a bad outcome. If I'm just going to say that, I think if you leave this break with John Collins as your starting center, I think that's a bad outcome. I don't think he's equipped to play center a night-to-night basis. I don't.
I don't. Well, I mean, look, I don't think Larry Nance is either, right? But you watched him in that Sacramento game play really well, even against one of the better centers playing basketball in Sabonis right now. So I mean, I think, and I will say this, I'd be intrigued in it just because in the Pelicans offense, the center has in a lot of different offenses, but it's not like it's just pick and roll. They run a lot of ball actions where the center is operating in DHOs and handoffs, and that may give John Collins some different opportunities that he's not used to. The team still can't throw lobs, so he won't be getting many of those.
Yeah, that's disheartening.
I don't know, because the talent, I'm very intrigued in the talent. I just think you got to go for other options. I would be surprised if it is John, especially now that the team has won a few more games. Go get you a Gary Trent Jr. Go get you a Naz Reid type, or another individual that can shout the basketball.
Moment for a message from our sponsor. One moment, Chris. I'm sorry. One moment, Ross. We got a Birds Law sponsorship here. Shout out to these guys. You guys should support them because they support us.
This podcast is sponsored by the Birdsall Law Firm, the official injury lawyers of Boot Crew Media. Birdsall Law Firm is a family practice that has been a staple in the greater New Orleans area since 1963. Specializing in automobile accidents and slip and falls for the past 60 years, you can trust the Birdsall Law Firm to handle your claim professionally while treating you like family in the process. The Birdsall Law Firm is located at 918 Poydras Street near the Superdome. Give them a call today at 504-523-5413 or message them on Instagram if you or someone you know has been involved in an accident. Be sure to mention Boot Crew Media sent you to get your free consultation today. Once again, you can reach them at 504-523-5413.
And it's hilarious that you can get a guy like John Collins, and a lot of people say, "Oh no," like it's just that's the point we're at now. That's a good thing though. Again, yeah, New Orleans Pelicans are victorious, 116-107. Ross, you had a closing point.
No. I'm just basically going to say, kind of to Chris's point. I think there are similarities between Nance and John Collins, and yeah, I don't want either of those guys playing like being my starting center on a night-to-night basis. I guess where I was going. Not that it can't work in short spurts, but look, 1-3 in a row after losing 10 straight. Optimism back in the building a little bit. So no matter what, I feel a little better than I did 2 weeks ago.
Hey, you take a win anytime you can get it. But that's been tonight's show. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Talk to you guys soon.